Welcome to the Shift podcast, where midlife, medicine, and mindset meet. We're breaking the silence around women's health and simplifying the path to feeling strong, clear, and better than ever. Hosted by me, Heidi Swapp, with insights from Dr. Vohn Watts and stories from real women, the Shift podcast is here to challenge the narrative, empower you with information, and create a new vision for your next chapter. Hey there, welcome back to the Shift podcast. I am Heidi Swapp. And I'm here with Chelsi Wood, who is my personal trainer and my personal yogi master, my Zen master, right? And also with Dr. Vohn Watts. And he is just going to shine the light and help us understand what the crap is going on in all the things. And we have kind of spent the last couple of episodes laying some groundwork for why we're here and what we're trying to do. And you've kind of had a chance to get to know us a little bit more. And what our goal is now is to start to move into some topics that are going to lay groundwork for all of the future episodes that we're doing, all of the different topics that we're going to be talking about. And as we sat down as a group and really talked about, like, what does this flow look like? What are the things that we need to define and understand before we start really solving problems? This is the very first one that bubbled up. And I think it actually surprised me that this is where we ended up deciding this is where we need to start. But I'm going to read a quote it's from somebody named Maston Kipp. And it's a tweet from him. And he says, "May you learn how to regulate your nervous system to match the life you want, instead of staying dysregulated because of the life you have." I want to read that. I want to read that in the very beginning because it really ties back to where we started in episode 1, which is I realized that I was just on this trajectory of accepting that I was getting dragged behind the cart of life. And I was just like taking the hits. And I didn't even know who was driving the cart. I think that maybe I thought it was destiny. Maybe I thought it was just life is hard. And so there's some magical autopilot that is driving the cart. And my job was just to hang on for dear life, right? In this last really only 6 to 9 months of my life, of my journey, did I realize, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be driving the cart. I'm not, like, I'm in the wrong spot of this whole thing. Like, I'm supposed to be the one that is in charge of how I feel, of where I'm going, of what's happening in my life. And I know for sure that I know a lot of us can relate to this, right? So today we want to talk about the nervous system. We want to talk about these survival patterns so that we can kind of break free from burnout, from overwhelm, and really from full-scale shutdown. And I think that burnout, overwhelm, and shutdown kind of defines definitely where I was. And if I'm not careful, right back into that. So we want to talk about our nervous system, which has really 2 parts. Both Dr. Vohn and Chelsi are really well-versed in the definition, what this is, and breaking it down. So I think that I want to start with you, Dr. Vohn, talking about really what the aspects of the nervous system. And then we'll go to Chelsi and just talk about like what her experience has been in ways like to understand that you can flip that switch or what's affecting it, or kind of what you've learned through like your yogi master training. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, specifically kind of what we're talking about is the term used, fight or flight. That's used a lot. And that's talking kind of specifically about the sympathetic nervous system which is this is our deep animalistic nervous system. So when we're in, think about thousands of years ago when we were hunter gatherers and there's a big animal chasing you, your body goes into sympathetic mode. So it shuts down certain functions and highlights other functions so that way you can have the energy to get moving. And so fast forward to where we're at now, what it is what happens, what most people see when they go into fight or flight is they'll see their stress levels go up. And then really what fight or flight does is it really affects your cortisol levels and actually your insulin levels as well. And so both of which, if affected long enough can affect a lot of different issues, like from hormone production to into like diabetes, like all these different things. So it's, trying to keep it as simplistic as possible and not get deep dive too much, but it's pretty much, most people have heard that term and they're probably curious what that means. Is that's when you're like super stressed out and you're just in the go mode all the time. I have a partner in another business supplement company. Her name's Dr. Jess. She's a big online, she's a medical doctor, big online functional medicine medical doctor. She specializes in female hormones. And that's one of the first things we created with our supplements is a fight or flight kit, because for her, just talking and working with patients, especially women, if you're in that state, she won't even go into treating you. Like she has to calm that down first before she can go into treating you, because it affects so many different things. It just, think about it, like shut your organs down, right? Like if anybody gets super scared and they pee themselves, right? That's going into that fight or flight mode. Your body shuts down, evacuates, because it's trying to focus its energy on the most important organs that you need right now to survive. So it's a survival mechanism is what it is. So
talk about the opposite.
When you're not in fight or flight, you're great. Your cortisol levels are lower. Your hormone, you're able to produce hormones normally. You're able to regulate blood sugar. Basically all your thyroid. If you're in fight or flight as well, it's going to affect your thyroid function. It affects everything. So when you're not in fight or flight and you're just normal and you're able to bring it down to Zen, now you have all your organs functioning the way they're supposed to. And why that's important is like my entire philosophy is, all disease is created by really one main thing, which is dysfunctional organs, right? Which can be caused, a few things can, like we talked about in the last episode, which can affect that. But if you have optimal organ function, you're going to be very healthy and your body's going to be able to metabolize food, metabolize your vitamins, and be able to store and utilize. And, a big part of it is your liver comes into play, which controls we can have an entire episode on the liver.
Oh, we will. Mm-hmm. Don't you?
Actually, that's the one you came in.
That has affected me. Yes.
That's the one that's the talk you came and heard me speak on was the liver. Yeah. But all those things that we talk about when it comes to female health, it all comes back down into the liver. But now you can be affected by your adrenals.
What about your immune system?
Oh, it affects your immune system as well. Oh, absolutely. It affects every system. It literally shuts down everything here's the most simplistic way of saying it. It shuts down the systems. And when you're in like fight or flight mode, there's a little bit different. So you're not like running from an animal. So you're not complete fight or flight mode, but you're in this fight or flight mode. So it's not completely shutting your organs down, but it is definitely tapering them down. And so it affects everything, like literally everything, your immune system. So you're going to get sick easier or more often. You're going to see that with those elevated cortisol levels, you're going to see increased belly fat. All these things that are affecting a lot of women in this menopausal state, kind of this age range of 40 to 60, where you're going through these changes, and you also have like we talked about, you've got children still, and usually probably teenagers at that point. You're just on the go.
Freaking teenagers,
right? Mm-hmm. And so it really affects everything.
Adult children.
You're gonna gain weight more. You get sick more often. It really just affects everything.
So, Chelsi, what would you add to that description?
One of the things that actually came to mind was with your nutrition. So there's studies that have shown that the difference between eating a cheeseburger at home in the middle of the chaos, you're driving through the drive-thru, versus eating a cheeseburger on vacation, your body processes it completely different. And so there is that fight or flight response it's so pivotal for.
Wait, and so is it better to eat it on vacation or is it better to eat it in case? Which one is more often?
Vacation, for sure.
Vacation, right?
Grass-fed,
yes.
no hormone.
Meaning that it digests easier.
Well, your digestive system is working.
Nutrients out of it.
Because you got to realize when you're in fight or flight mode, just in like real fight or flight, your digestion system shuts down. Stops. So, like I said, you're not in a total fight or flight, but you are in a you're in it. You're in a certain level in there, and every person's different based on how stressed out they are. But yeah, digestion system definitely shuts down.
Yeah, for sure. So, in my yoga training that I did this year, I was doing another certification because why not? Because that's
you have
what we do. Yeah.
I mean, you were bored.
Yeah.
You were so bored.
Yeah. So why not 200 hours? Fine. So, but some of the daily activities that they required in this yoga teacher training was a yoga meal. So literally
A yoga what?
A yoga meal.
Meal.
So you choosing a time that you can actually eat alone. There's no distraction. There's no noise.
Wait, I really like this idea of
right alone. Yeah, everybody. And it actually probably was my favorite part by the end because you don't realize like how often are we just like eating on the go or quickly doing, and we were required to chew our food extra long, to actually taste and feel the textures in our mouth. And like truly just slow down during this time. And it was just a small meal, like, just like 3 fistfuls, nothing crazy. And then actually sit and feel, how is my body, reacting to this? Do I feel satiated? If not.
So it wasn't a cheeseburger.
No, it was just a smaller meal.
You don't have a cheeseburger for the yoga meal. Okay.
No, yeah. And then daily gratitude, stopping and slowing down enough to actually recognize what's going well. And then obviously, everybody knows that yoga is usually a quieter practice, right? On your mat. And there's purpose in yoga. It's an opportunity for you to sit with your body and to have some stillness, maybe a little bit of uncomfortable, and for you to be able to connect with yourself. Because I know for me personally, I've been living so out here for so long that I was full of H. pylori and SIBO and all of these things that were happening inside my body that I was just ignoring.
And you're referring to like your gut health.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You can't just throw out there like pylori. Yeah. Come on.
Well, they have to go back and listen to the other episodes to my chaos. But yeah, it's important to recognize. I think it was just really the recognition of the chaos that we live in and being forced to stop and feel. And that's one of the things that I tell my classes too, like at the end of classes, like when you slow down, that's when you actually can receive answers. That's when we can receive direction and like process thoughts. We can't in this heightened state. Our brain, turns off too. That's what we're all experiencing, I think.
One of the things that I think came into awareness for me, so if you've known me for a long time, and maybe even have listened to like the Fight podcast that we talked about before, my whole mantra in my life became, don't freak out. That was my, like, if I could get through the day or through 5 minutes, because I was just really, really good at freaking out. And what we talked about is that if we lose our cool over, and this, okay, so this is going back. So you may have heard this before, but this is for Dr. Watts, because I don't think he's heard me talk about it. It's like, okay, so here you are, you're the mom, you just pull through a drive-through and you hand back the smoothie to your child who's in a car seat. The child is, 3-ish, something like that. So they can grab it, they can hold it, they can talk back, they can throw stuff at you. You hand it to them. And you pull out and you maybe hit the curb and smoothie
everywhere,
all over in the back. Smoothie on the clothes, smoothie in the car seat. And if anybody has ever had to take apart,
it's the worst.
A car seat.
It's like
so that you can clean it.
It's like doing origami. Yeah, it's a maze. It's a puzzle.
And you haven't decided, like, obviously once you get to like your 5th child, which is who I'm talking about, oh, that car seat is coated. You're just like, yeah, it'll dry. Like that's where you're at. But I can. So So you hand back a smoothie and the smoothie cost you $2.53 or, you know, whatever, and you lose your shit, right? Because now it's a mess. Now you're late. Now someone's crying. Now you need a new smoothie, like da 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 da. And you're all of a sudden in this panicked, dysregulated, we'll say, state. And your kids watch you and they're like, I can never drop my smoothie again. My mom will hate me. Yeah. Because if any kid wants anything, it's for their parent not to be in freak out mode. That is the worst case scenario for a kid, right? And so if a kid is learning all the time what they have to do, or like what will keep you in that homeostasis, like they're like, okay, if I clean my room. So you've got kids who are like, I want to keep my mom happy. And they've got kids who are like, yeah, you know, like taking her down, and this is how it's going to happen. Yeah. But I think that what I learned was that my kids were scared of me. And so I wasn't very safe. And so when it was something serious, and it wasn't just a smoothie, or it wasn't just, you know, a stolen bike, or, you know, something that didn't really matter, when it was something really, really serious, they did not feel like they could come talk to me because I couldn't control myself. I couldn't control my anger and my frustration, and that was hard for me to hear. But it was true. And I had demonstrated it since my kids were little babies, with every spilled milk and every, you know, little thing that happens, right? Because you try so hard to keep the house clean and to, you know, all these things. So I also really felt like, you know, for really the entire time I had kids, I've run my own business. I've had my own business, and I've had deadlines. My entire life is just one big deadline after another. And let me tell you right now, I'm not going to do anything until it's due. I'm not going to give you anything early. I don't even know if I'm going to give it to you when it's due, but I'm certainly not going to give it to you, you know, like the deadlines were the live and breathe. And I literally it came to the point where I couldn't do anything until it was time.
I think deadlines are like probably the worst thing for somebody who kind of has like that ADD type thing. Yeah. Because once you're given a deadline, then you're like, oh, I have till then.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if there's no deadline, it probably wouldn't throw, because we're all high energy people.
Well, I wouldn't even do it. Are you kidding? I would be like thinking about everything else. I have to have it. Yeah. I mean,
so maybe that's just me. For me, I'm like, as a high energy person, I'm like, if I have a deadline, then I'm like, it's the day before or the night of or the morning of. Yeah. But if I don't, I don't personally go into that mode, because then I'm like, oh, well, okay, I got some time, I'll get it done. So I'm not stressing myself, because what you're doing is you're adding stress to your life right there. Right. That deadline, and some people, they work better with them, but either way, whether you are that person or not, a deadline adds stress.
So this is what I told myself, and Chelsi can attribute it, because she's tried to like hypnotherapy me out of it without my consent.
Just creating awareness.
But like I have this awareness. Like the last minute is the best minute. That like I can't think until it's the last minute. And so I have been addicted to that panic level. And if we think about this, like how you describe it as fight or flight being this like, oh, it's go time, right? Mm-hmm. And that go time gives you this rush, right? And it gives you, for me, in my ADHD brain, it gives me like all of this extra stuff that I didn't have in my brain because I was probably wasting it like on my immune system or something.
It sounds like you were like realistically, it sounds like you were in fight or flight mode like for 25 years.
Well, yeah,
like that's the entire time. You know what I mean? Like the entire time.
Yeah, it's true. But I didn't know that. And in fact, when I've heard people talk about being addicted, like I said, to that panic, because it carries you, because it like
it's a dopamine hit.
Yeah,
What it is. Yeah. It's a dopamine hit in that go time. although stressful, when you do get it done too, it's like, it's so a big dopamine hit too.
It's huge,
there is that, and it is a personality thing too. Cause like I said, high energy people, they tend to be super successful because they're go. And then because that go is going to have that reward or that big dopamine hit, man, I got this done. Boom. Big dopamine hit of like, I accomplished, like even like having a list, checking something off the list is a boom, like done.
Well, and I would even get to like, I would stay up the whole night doing something like that because it was like, and I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel time. Like that would be when I would really get into the flow.
She would even come in and lift. She hadn't gone to bed. She would come into the gym and still do her workout.
because I was
awake anyway, might as well. Yeah. But we're doing better.
So then what started to happen was, as menopause, I started to lose my edge. Like I couldn't do it. And the panic and a fear. So instead of flight, which I could do, I started to feel freeze. And we're going to talk about these pieces of it in just a second, but it wasn't working anymore. And then that was scaring me. And then I was panicking about being in a panic. And I'm just going to throw one more wrench because really always my fear or my survival was like, okay, this is due. Somebody's counting on this. This has to go live on the site, or this is, if we don't get this to China, then it's not going to get produced, or, whatever it was. Right. Like it was these real consequences that I didn't want to mess around with. So I took them seriously. So it's been 2 years. 2 years ago, I had an accident. It was kind of a freaky, stupid accident. I was trying to start a motorcycle. It's an older motorcycle, so there wasn't like a button that you push. It was like the real kind that the real girls, where you got to hold in the clutch and you got to kick it. And just a little bit of backstory so it don't sound so that you understand me, is that I was the drill mom for my daughter's dance drill team. It was the parade. It was our town's parade. The girls were dancing in it. I needed to go and get the footage so that I could make the reels so that we could post them. And so I wanted to be on the motorcycle instead of having to park somewhere so that I could move easily through different spots. And I'm tough. I work out. I can get on the motorcycle, no problem. And I kicked it and kicked it and kicked it, and I couldn't get it to start. And then all of a sudden, like, my daughter was needing to be there. She was going to be like, if you cannot be late for drill team, like, it's a very anti-Heidi situation. And so I was starting to really panic. And I even said a prayer. If you don't help me, I have done so much for you. Yeah, this is like, I'm sure God really loved this prayer. Anyway, I kicked really, really hard and lost balance of the motorcycle. And the last thing I wanted to do was drop it and dent the gas tank. And so I was trying to catch it on my one leg, and I got into a really deep one-legged squat on this right side, and like I just heard it pop, and so my entire hamstring just tore, gone. And the amount of pain. And then I was like, Connor, get Capri. Like, he had to get on his motorcycle, totally illegal, not street legal, like, get her down there. Like, and I just laid on the garage floor for the next 2 hours, holding my phone and being so mad at myself. Like, I knew at that point I had worked really hard. I was really pleased with where I was in my journey, and my health journey. And in that moment, I was like, I'm going to gain all my weight back. I'm going to lose everything I've worked for. This is it. And I just laid on the floor and allowed everything that I had gained to just come straight back. So it was awful, terrible.
I have to know, is this a street bike or is this like a, I'm trying to.
It's like a cafe cruiser, like it was a Yamaha 1972. No, Honda.
I'm trying to see you on a street bike.
Yeah, I got a picture. I can show you later. My husband has, they have motorcycles. It's a motorcycle thing. Right. And I grew up on motorcycles. It wasn't a big, like, it was embarrassing that this happened to me. Horrifying. Right. So I had to have surgery, blah, blah, blah. I'm on crutches. It's disaster. Turns out I doubled down on my nutrition. I don't lose everything. But the week I'm cleared to start hiking again, I fall down the stairs and tear my rotator cuff. The level of anger. And then, this was the day before we were going on a trip to Portugal with my dad and my brother and my sister. And this is where I served a mission for my church when I was younger. And when I was on a mission, I was hit by a car. And it was a pretty bad situation, like dangling leg situation. Portugal, not great. Like everybody has a limp. You're like, okay, Anyway, I had to have surgery. I had to have surgery and I got staph infection. And it was pretty serious staph infection. I was in the hospital for 4 weeks. Daily scraping the bone. It was really, really, really bad. And in those days, I love saying that. In those days, it costs money to call somebody long distance. It took 17 days for a letter to get home and any letter to come back. So it wasn't, my parents did receive a call that I had been hurt and that I was okay. But they didn't know what I was experiencing. And I was in a hospital for a good long time in a lot of pain. Needless to say, I went to Portugal. We went to the hospital. My dad was like, I want to see where you were. I'm like, oh wow, this is where I was, and it it kind of took a hit. Like it kind of was like, oh wow, I didn't like being here.
Came back to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was in an anger. I was in an anger state. During this time, I was really involved with the dance team. I was having a really hard time managing my projects. And I was behind. I was letting people down. I felt terrible, but I couldn't do what I used to be able to do. And I didn't know why. And my thoughts about myself and about my trajectory and what I was doing and who I was were bad. And then I had shoulder surgery. And if any of you have had surgery on your shoulder, you know what happens. And it's all fine and good until you have to sleep. And you cannot sleep. And I went 15 days and couldn't sleep because I didn't want to get addicted to the pain medicine, and I didn't want to get addicted to sleep medicine. And so I had never really experienced a darkness like that. On top of extreme anger and extreme self-loathing and really deep fear for what was going to be next. I was like, what is going to happen next to me? And it was winter. I don't do great in the winter. I shouldn't live in Utah for sure. So it's January, February, and I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And spring kind of comes. I start to feel a little bit better. My shoulder feels better. My hamstring feels better. I'm back in the gym. I'm getting going again. my daughter's going to be graduating. And so drill is over. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to feel like I just got back a life and a brain and a body. You know, like I was really like, this is great. And I was like, I was so ready to feel good. And 2 days before graduation, my gorgeous life was her oyster, like happy, capable, functional daughter that was just getting ready to embark on her life, was in a golf cart accident. And it literally just ripped her face off. And she didn't die. And I was so thankful. She was going to be okay, but it looked bad. And she was scared, and it derailed every plan. And it just so happened that June is the month that kind of starts triggering my emotions for when Corey passed away, which is in July. So my brain is just telling me, well, it's June. And so here we go. Like, of course, nothing good happens in your life. You can't catch a break. And people would say to me every single day, you just can't catch a break. And I couldn't. I couldn't. And I couldn't work. And I couldn't think. And I didn't know what to do. And I was mad. And I couldn't catch a break. And I'm thinking, what is next? And Chelsi's saying, well, don't attract that into your life. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I'm not going to attract that. But I didn't even know what that meant. And I didn't even know, like, is that I was having some PTSD, right? Like I was reliving every bad thing, and I was proving to my brain, you know, what did you say? That your brain wants to
prove you right and keep you safe.
And my brain was right. My life sucked. I sucked. Everything sucked. And I couldn't get out of it. Now, this is 1 year ago from now, essentially. And I was spiraling. I'm not a really good mad person. I don't know if there are good mad people. I was isolated and didn't want to be around anybody. But I didn't know, like, I didn't think I was depressed. I was just freaking mad, you know, and I didn't know how to shake it off. And so, I'm just going through the motions, and my deadlines are creeping back, and like particularly if I would have a class that was due, the way that I would like overcomplicate and blow things out of proportion. Anyway, it wasn't until last November. So this is 9 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that from right now. And I went to this place called Movara, which is a fitness resort in St. George. And it's a place that I've been several times that I really love. And I was actually asked to come and kind of be there with some fitness influencers, which I was like, I'm not a fitness influencer. I was like, this is so stupid. And I was behind. I had no business being there. I told him I wasn't going to come. And then like literally made a split second decision. I'm leaving. And I said to my family, I don't know if I'm ever coming back. So it's been good.
Like it so bad.
Anyway, during that week, there was a guy that they brought in, shout out Ryan Bean, and he was there to teach about breathwork, which I thought was bull crap.
Yeah, woo woo.
And so I didn't go to his lecture. I mean, I was behind on a project, and so I wasn't even like I was. Anyway, Chelsi happened to be there with me. She is a fitness influencer. And she was like, this guy, this is the best breathwork class I've ever had. And then I was like, of course I didn't go, because I suck and because I'm And so she's like, no, you need to go tomorrow to his lecture. And I went. And I sat there and listened to it. He's talking about the nervous system. And I am just being my critical vortex. Like, I'm not going to believe one thing you say to me. You can try. And I was a smart A, too. Popping off these comments. Like, yeah. I said to him, so he's teaching us about, like, this guy studied with Wim Hof. He is, like, the real deal. And he's, trains people who have PTSD, uses breath work. I didn't know what breath work was. I didn't have any idea what the purpose was. And he's explaining it, and I'm just like, okay, let's all take a deep breath. Not helping, Well,
what's that old adage, right? Take a breath.
Right.
Breathe.
Yeah. Don't tell me to breathe.
We've been saying that for years and years and years, and it really is tied back to breath work.
Right.
It really is. It's one of the number one things you can do to get out of fight or flight.
I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was in fight or flight. So he's talking about it, and I'm starting to realize, okay, I think I have that. And so then I'm like, oh, I'm starting to lean in a little bit closer. And he has like a TED Talk. He's talking about the survival mode. He's talking about fight or flight. And I'm leaning in a little bit more. And then he says, and so we're going to do a cold plunge. And now I was like, out. No, I mean, I might have done a box breath with you, maybe. But I'm not doing a cold plunge, right? And I said to him out loud, I would rather die than get into that freezing cold water. And he looks at me and he goes, I think if you don't, you're going to die.
Yeah. He told you it was a bold statement.
Like, not rattled one, like I did not rattle him one bit, if you can believe that.
he's probably pretty zen.
This guy who's like hiking in the Himalayas in shorts, Yeah. He says, if you don't, you might die. And I'm here to tell you, I felt it all the way in my soul. And so he taught us about visualization, which I also thought I didn't understand. He taught us about talking to ourselves and started hyping us up to go on this cold plunge, which I would rather like lay on the ground and let snakes crawl over me, not poisonous snakes.
That's a little far from me.
Yeah.
I'm not a snake person.
But like, I don't like cold water. I don't like to get in cold water. I don't like to get in the ocean in California. I love to go to the beach, but I do not want to get in that water. It's too cold. Stupid. Why? No. I don't like cold water. I like being cold.
And you live in Utah. Just let's reiterate that one.
Again, I should move.
It's freezing cold
right away
in the winter.
Right. Yeah.
And I do. I hate it. And so he said, I want you to start to think. So he teaches us breath work. He teaches us the purpose of breath work. He's teaching us that it can get us out of fight or flight. And I'm realizing that I need to learn this. Anyway, we'll have to have like a whole cold plunge concepting talk because I am a badass now. But what happened was I spent 24 hours visualizing myself walking into the water without being scared, with my shoulders back, with my chin up, like a freaking Marine, you know. And when we got to this cold plunge, like there's white caps on this lake and I just freezing. And I'm like, I'm fine. You know, and the whole purpose is to get in and to use your breath to take yourself out of fight or flight and sit there in the water and be calm. And I did it. And then you weren't allowed to run out of the water to your towel. You had to walk out of the water calmly, and you still couldn't pick up your towel. You had to do like body movements to raise your body heat.
Get the blood flow moving.
You know, yeah. And you guys, I got in the water. I regulated my nervous system. I sat in the water for 9 minutes. I walked out and I didn't even need the towel. And I was like, I'm getting a scorpion tattoo on my forearm today. Like it was the most empowered I ever felt in my life.
It's probably the first time in your life you've taken complete control.
It is the first time in my life that I ever understood that I had control. And it changed me forever. And I wasn't a pro, like I'm still not a pro. But this is why we're doing this podcast. Because we have in ourselves, as we are, no matter what age we are, no matter what our health is, no matter what's going on in our life, no matter how behind we are in our deadlines, no matter how crashed our kid is, we have the ability to take control. And that is powerful. That is why we're here. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how that works, what you do, how you know that you're in fight or flight, what your solution is. Because if you own one of these and you have 27 tabs open, and you can hop on your mail and you can see all of your bills, and you can see people who want all of your texts, people who want you to do stuff for them. This is a little fight or flight box, right? This is a little something that immediately when we wake up, what's the first thing you do, right? It's the last thing you look at. When you go to bed, it's the first thing you pick up. It's stoplight, you know. What is happening? Let's talk about it.
Oh, there's more people and women, and actually, I'm just going to call Utah out. Utah has like the highest rate of per capita of women on anxiety medication than any other state. And it's not just Utah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's just more and more. Like anxiety medication I'm not exactly sure what number prescription is, but it's pretty high up there. I bet it's top 10 for sure, maybe even top 5. And it's all based on lifestyle, because like I served a mission in Venezuela, and when I was down there, people didn't have antidepressants or anxiety meds. It's a lot of that is lifestyle induced. And then you look at this first world life we live in. You know, I always say first world problems, like jokingly, but you look at it, well, what do we have? We have, okay, we wake up in the morning, we got to get kids off to school, or you're going to work, or both. You're running kids back and forth, and you got to do dinner. I'm speaking from watching, things that my wife would have to do. And then you add in phone, social media, all these things that just trigger stress, and then just start elevating your cortisol levels, throw you in this fight or flight mode. And then you're anxious all the time. You feel like you can't ever get anything done the way it should be done. You can't lose weight. Your health is not the best. Your diet usually declines, and oftentimes then everybody's had that. Oh, I don't have time to work out. It's like, so you don't work out, and it's like, but look at your phone. You spent 18 hours on social media last week, right? You know what I mean? It tells you. Your phone tells you. It like calls you out. I got to think of my phone.
I hate that. I wish you could disable that screen time notification. There has to be a way. But I should Google that because I hate seeing it.
But it is a great indicator to let you know. Oh my gosh, I'm spending too much time here, and it's not that it's all bad, but I mean just the normal American lifestyle. It is bad, and you can be in this fight or flight mode. And let me just tell you, like my experience. I get out of chiropractic school, and my office is an hour drive away, so 1 hour there, 1 hour back. I leave the house by around 6. And I get home about 6, and then I would go straight from work to football practice because I coach football. And then on the days I didn't have football, on Tuesday and Thursdays, I would come straight home, pick up my daughters, go to volleyball practice because I was a head coach for club volleyball, and I coached 2 teams. So I was there from what was it? 7 to 9. It was like I was there. I didn't get home till like 10:30 at night. I'd leave at 6 o'clock and get home at like 10 o'clock at night. And it was just go. And yeah, there's a lot of like my personality. I can handle it. But everybody has a tipping point where you can't handle it anymore, where you are going to flatline, where you just can't move. And then in some cases, if you don't address it, you'll crash so much to where you can't get it. Like luckily it didn't happen. Luckily I was able to curtail some of this, or my kids went into high school, so then I wasn't coaching football, so my life got a little bit easier. But I've seen people where they just go, and then just crash to where this person who's just on the go nonstop feels like they can't even get out of bed. And then that stress turns into anxiety and then depression.
Self-hatred. I mean, you're like, why can't I do this?
Yeah.
I've done this before.
But here's the medical side to it, okay? So what does that do? Well, it does affect your digestion ability, right? And we talked about gut a little bit in the previous episode. Your gut does everything. Your gut, this is what your gut controls, okay? The majority of the inflammation in your body is controlled by the gut. Your immune system is controlled by the gut. Your thyroid hormone and regular hormones, it deals with hormone conversion in the gut. You absorb nutrients in the gut. So you have all these things. Now imagine your gut function is being tapered down. So now your immune system isn't working as well. Your thyroid is not going to work as well. Your hormones are going to be unbalanced, which, like we talked about before, for men and women, very different, right? If my hormones, it'll just kind of like shock my system where I just don't have the energy. Whereas for women, you have all these other hormones you're dealing with. It has a totally different effect. But the big one is it also controls about over 90% of certain neurotransmitters. So now, brain fog.
Well,
and that's where the depression comes in as well, because now you can't create the neurotransmitters you need, or you can't even break down and absorb the way you need to, so you can get those neurotransmitters. So that's where depression sets in. That's where brain fog.
And one of the things that Ryan Bean was talking about when I was in that, like having a little awakening, or the beginning of the awakening, the prelude for the awakening. He said, and you mentioned this, your body's going to narrow your focus so much just into the things that you need to survive, right? And happiness isn't one of them.
It's not a survival mechanism.
It's not joy, not a survival mechanism. Calm, definitely not a survival mechanism. What I didn't realize is that my body didn't have access to feeling happy. And all of a sudden I was like, is that real? Like, I thought I was just mad as hell. No. But actually, there was not a pathway for me to feel happiness.
And biochemically, think about what you're happy.
Because happiness is what? I don't remember which neurotransmitter, like serotonin.
This is serotonin and dopamine, right? And 98% of serotonin is created in the gut.
And I could not feel, there was no serotonin being pumped into my body.
Yeah.
Well, and what little you had, you were showing up for others, giving to them, right?
Right.
Because you were still showing up on social media. Nobody knew what was going on behind the scenes. And
Right.
like you talk about the crash out, that was me coming off the stage, in July. By September, October, I had already gained 20 pounds. Like my body was in full shutdown and I didn't listen. I was literally sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. I did that for years and I was just go.
I'm just fine on 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, I was fine.
Sleep's another really big thing that will affect you going into fight or flight mode, not having to sleep. And that affects everything else too. That affects weight, that affects your immune system, all these things, sleep. So it's like you see the pattern. There's sleep, there's digestion, there's all these things and all the different hormones and different neurotransmitters that each one of those things affect, and now stack like 2, 3, 4 of those things all at one time. And then, like you said, what do you have left? Well, you also sound kind of like a people pleaser. So the dopamine you do have left,
well, I certainly wasn't on the table for pleasing myself.
So what you did, like what you said, like what you had left was left to please others. And so there's nothing left for you. Like literally your cup was empty. And you're only starting with this much.
It was really full of like this black anger. Yeah. that was brimming.
But we don't want to be whiners either.
Right.
Part of my thing was like, my husband wasn't super supportive of bodybuilding. So like, how could I possibly say that I didn't feel well? Like, because it would have been like, well, you did this to yourself. And it's true. I did do it to myself. And I'm trying to show up for my clients and put on a happy face and,
Kids.
But yeah, we were both kind of like spiraling together, but still showing up.
She didn't seem as mad as I felt. And so I had to be mad for both of us at the gym. And so I was able to be really...
She would come in,
grouchy.
There was, right before this Mobar experience, she would literally come in with AirPods in, and it was probably 30 minutes into the workout before you could even talk to her or approach her. Like, I had never seen her this dark.
I was not okay. It's interesting because it says that estrogen and progesterone help to regulate the nervous system. And so even if it's something that you've been good at or you've been able to do, and your levels start... either they're doing this or they're doing this or whatever, your body's not on your side.
So what are you doing when you're in that mode, right? You're go, go, go. What kind of food are you eating?
Oh, let me tell you.
Is this fast food?
Nothing until 4 p.m. and then it's like 10 cookies.
Right.
Like chocolate chip. They're delicious. And probably like a Diet Coke. Yeah.
You know what creates...
Terrible. Terrible.
And you know what creates the majority of those hormones?
Which hormones?
Name the hormone. All the hormones. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is what is needed to make the majority of your hormones, right? The majority, I think it was like 70 or 80%. Cholesterol creates your hormones. And so if you're eating a crappy diet on top of it, especially ultra-processed foods or carbohydrates, you're not eating good saturated fats.
They were homemade cookies.
Right? But you're not eating saturated fats. You know what I mean? Like eggs and good, good meats. And,
I mean, there's Crisco in them. That's not a saturated fat, I guess. No.
Not one that you want.
No.
We'll talk about that later. But the reality of it is...
We're over here just like crawling in our skin. It's fine.
So it's like
this is real. I'm just being real.
No, but it's real for a lot of women, especially in this state, or women that are even just... Maybe they're not even working. So let's take that out of the way. Even women that aren't working, they're just stay-at-home moms, and they're running kids, and they're at home taking care of the home and taking care of food.
Well, here's the thing. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you don't get to get out of this, the cesspool of everybody's
neediness.
Crap.
Right.
It's almost like if you get to go to work or you have someplace where you get to go so that you get a break from that heaviness that it takes to run your household, like it is hard.
Diet's one of the first things that goes though, because like, I didn't have time to make dinner because I'm running this kid to football and I'm running this kid to dance and I'm running this kid to cheerleading and this kid has... piano lessons.
Homework assignment that I didn't know about.
So it's like, then you go and you're just stopping by and grabbing food, and that food does not have the right nutrients you need to create hormones, to create neurotransmitters. And so really then it becomes, because of that go, go, go lifestyle, the diet suffers, exercise suffers. Two of the most important things to regulate hormones and to regulate neurotransmitters that just comes with it. And so we're in a society where we overbook
Clearly,
ourselves.
we have a problem.
You know?
Houston.
Yeah, we overbook ourselves. And that's the one thing that we see in the first world. And I say that just because I've lived in areas where people live in their houses are the tin roofs that you see, that their entire house is made of that and their floor is dirt. You know, and I've seen that. Some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. They're not on this first world grind where they're running kids the piano and this kid here and this here and then I got this and then I do stuff with my church or with this community outreach and it's just we overbook ourselves so much here and that's the lifestyle now. And so it's like, and I'm not saying don't do it because trust me, I'm a sports dad. All my kids play sports. And I think there's
and that's
really
your
important.
joy. Like it's absolute joyful.
That was my joy as well, to come from school and go watch my kids.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can still find that balance. You can still be busy, but if you're busy and you do certain things, like you're ensuring that you're getting more than 4 or 5 hours sleep. I'm not saying 8 hours sleep, but I'm saying you can get 6.5, 7 hours sleep at least, at least get to that 7 hours. Now your body's able, that's plugging your phone in. So basically what you're doing when you get 4 or 5 hours sleep, it's like you're grabbing your phone at 50% charge every day because all your healing happens. That's one of the first things I ask women that are trying to lose weight. How many hours of sleep do you get? Because if you're 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you're not going to lose weight.
Right. And what does, I mean, we need to have a whole conversation. Like we need to put a pin in that because what does sleep have to do with weight loss? It's crazy. I hated when people tell me that.
But you have all those things. You have, but the things you can do, the simple things, I'm not saying, hey, don't put your kids in these activities. Of course, it's important. You learn all these great life lessons and all these things, but you can implement things in your own life. Like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I'm at least getting good sleep. And I'm going to make sure that we're focusing on, even if we have to go and grab some food, that we're grabbing food that I know at least has good protein and saturated fats in it instead of just more of the carbohydrates. We can, sit in the car while you're waiting for your kid to come from practice and do your breath work.
Right.
There's little simple things that you can do. Because the reality, we're not gonna. I mean, as a people here, we're not gonna stop.
No,
we're not gonna stop.
Yeah.
So it's how can we implement things in our lives that we can help to balance that out, so we don't get into this fight or flight and then eventually crash. Because there's, like you said, there's people that crash when they finally crash after 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, and they finally crash. I mean, it's bad.
Well, and it's usually because of injury or illness or a death of a loved. There's
some is just so overwhelmed that they always talk about it. Like when do people normally they talk about having a nervous breakdown? Late 30s, right? That 40 year.
If you're Googling, how do I know if I'm having a nervous breakdown? You are. Have you Googled that?
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm. I mean,
do you remember me sharing with you how when your cortisol's running hot, that your tendons and ligaments are less healthy too? There's so many, we could go down the rabbit hole of all the effects, but
we gotta have a cortisol conversation.
Yeah. It was just, you were an accident waiting to happen with just the lifestyle that you were living.
Well, look at the words we use. Right? You have a nervous breakdown, right? Nervous breakdown. Your nervous system is breaking down. Mm-hmm. The words that we use aren't just random sayings. They actually come from medical terms at some point, referring to something. Your nervous system is breaking down.
Right.
That's it.
So let's spend the next little bit of this conversation on how to flip the switch from fight or flight. I think we can all agree that we're experiencing this in our daily lives. And as we get older, with all of life's challenges, it's heightened, and especially as our resources in our body and starts to go down. And if we think about what we talked about earlier, which is that we want to be in control rather than letting it control us, how do we move from, what are our options to move from this fight or flight, panic, stressed out situation to calm? What is on the table that you can do?
So I think the first thing for me is awareness, right? And that's how I recovered from a binging lifestyle, was first recognizing that I had a problem and then going to recognizing what the triggers were to cause that pattern. And so I think it's just taking like a self-evaluation, like every day of, what went well today? Where was I the most in control? And then where was I triggered? And what led up to that trigger? And then putting a plan in place. When I feel triggered next time, I'm going to go in the bathroom and I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to practice some box breathing, like having a plan when you do get to that place so that you can manage it and do better next time. And then we're never going to be perfect. We still freak out, right? But the awareness is what I talk to my clients about all the time. With every habit that you're trying to create, it's just awareness. Awareness is the first thing to create change.
And can I just say that, like, if you're wanting to know, like, more about fight or flight and what it really looks like, what these things mean, jump into ChatGPT or get on X and go into Grok, which is probably my favorite free AI, and type that, like, describe fight or flight to me, so that you have a chance to kind of understand it for yourself, because that was so eye-opening to me, because I just, when Ryan Bean was describing it, of course I knew what fight or flight was, but I thought that was for when you get kidnapped.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been kidnapped. I wanted to be. How do I sign up?
You were emotionally kidnapped.
For somebody. Okay, so awareness is super important. You mentioned breath work. Vohn, Dr. Vohn, what would you say about breath work? What would be your recommendation?
As far as breath work, that might be more of a Chelsi thing. I'm not certified in breath work, but no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, it's simple. Simple breath work. Some just, breathe
Can you tell us why it works?
Well, it's going to slow down. If anybody's ever done breath work, you can feel it slow your heart rate down.
So when we say, and we can dive into breath work for reals at some point, because we got to have Ryan Bean come here.
Absolutely.
He's got to play his little drum. But what's interesting about, like, the cold plunge situation was that if your inhale was something like your exhale was twice as long as your inhale.
Yep.
Why does that work? You just need more oxygen, or something to think about, or something you're counting, and so you're not thinking about something else. It's like, I know there's like an oxygen and a CO2, and we're going to have to dive into it, but
it's the focus. It's, that counting too is super powerful. And box breathing, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4. So just, you're turning your attention away from whatever the trigger is, right? You're redirecting, and then you're focusing in. And so it's just being intentional, but we have to be aware first.
We have written down here grounding.
Do you know what grounding is? Do you know what that is?
You take off your shoes.
Take your shoes off and go outside and walk on the ground. Like grass.
Not cement.
Not cement. No. On the ground. You actually, you have, everything around us is electrically charged. Everything around us is electrically charged. And so just grounding. There's even, I don't know if you've heard this, but we call these, tree huggers. They call them tree huggers. And they show physiological changes in people that go out and literally hug a tree. It sounds weird. It sounds crazy, but
I thought it was just like people who are protecting the environment.
Well, that's what they're called. But there's an actual. Go look it up. Like, it actually affects you as well. Like, it is part of that whole process of going out and grounding. You're out in nature, but you actually are getting an electrical charge from being out barefoot in the ground. And then you go to think about it, because I started thinking about that when we moved back to Idaho, because we lived out in Kansas City for 13 years. And not a chance in hell I'm going to be out and barefoot in the grass. There's chiggers. You know what chiggers are?
Yeah.
They're these microscopic bugs that you can't see that will just burrow in your feet, and you don't even know it. And you'll find out later, because they'll burrow and go through your skin, and they'll come up like in your waistband or where your underwear line. What's tight? Oh yeah, it's insane. So you don't go out and hang out in the grass. And
Sorry, you Kansas City dwellers.
No, this is everything like east of Colorado, where it's really humid and stuff. And so coming back to Idaho, and we live on like 6 acres, and I started looking, I'm like, I think about how often do I go outside barefoot? And I'm like, how often do most people go outside barefoot and just walk around the grass? And if you really take a, self-assessment, you go, oh my gosh, almost never. Almost never. And there's a whole thing where they'll say, go outside in the morning and, especially like after you work out, or if you do it first thing, go outside and just go outside barefoot.
I have been doing this.
Do some sun gazing. There's the whole sun gazing, all that, all at the same time. And it changes your physiology.
I mean, this right now, you guys, this is an open invitation for you to book a beach vacation. Wherever you are right now, book a beach vacation. Yep. Because you'll just go and walk barefooted on the sand.
Well, I think about this. Why does everybody want to go on vacation to a beach? It's not just because it's a beach. Because like I grew up on a beach. And my wife grew up in Hawaii. So when we go back to Hawaii.
I grew up in Utah, and people in Utah just want to go to the beach.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
But even for like someone myself, we go back to Hawaii and come back and like, oh, how was the beach? And we're like, oh, like sometimes we're at the beach, sometimes we're not. But it's like when you really think about it, when we go to the beach, you're like, why do I feel so good at the beach? Well, you're barefoot, you're in the sun, you're getting salt water.
Yeah, water.
Which, once again, I love that as a kid. Like
wait,
in high
I don't
school.
know. Okay, we'll come back to salt water. I didn't know that this was a thing.
Oh yeah, but
I don't get into cold water.
well, you think about it, right? Anything that goes on your skin, you're going to absorb, right? So you're getting there's minerals in the ocean. And as a kid, it's not the reason I had 40 missed absences my senior year to go surfing, but I always noticed that whenever I went surfing, my face would clear up. But people feel good. You feel better. You just feel more relaxed at the beach, and you're walking around barefoot and you're in the sun. Vitamin D, which is also huge for helping to create hormones and once again, neurotransmitters, like all these things, they all come back full circle, and they're little things that you can do. They don't take a lot. We're not saying go outside and walk around for an hour, but I mean, go outside and walk around for 10, 15 minutes, do the little things that you can accomplish, because don't set these expectations like, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And now you got this huge list and you're trying to not stress yourself out. Now you're just stressing yourself out by trying to do things that will help you not be stressed, so it's like, find a few things or find what works for you. But you have, like I said, grounding, you have breath work. A big one is obviously diet. Diet really is a big one, really getting away from ultra processed foods and the seed oils. What else is there?
Movement,
walking and strength training.
And outside, outside, walking outside is so powerful. And then absolutely, getting in the gym and strength training. And I think that's why a lot of people love going to the gym, right? Because a lot of times people will turn their phone off and they'll actually just turn off.
Just be there.
So it's, people talk about the same thing in yoga. You turn your phone off and you're just on the mat. And so it's just separating yourself from all the chaos intentionally.
Well, and remember when I was telling both of you about, so my buddy has that treehouse village, right? The Dominican treehouse village.
Oh, yeah.
And the first time I went down, I said, this was like the best vacation I ever had. But I said it was the most relaxing vacation I ever had. So we go out there. And at the time, I'm still running a clinic. So it's even more stressful being on vacation, because if I'm not working, then the clinic's not making money.
Right.
So it's like a double-edged sword when you're self-employed like that. And so I got out there and look at my phone, I'm still on my phone coming through. And then we finally get out there, and where they're at is kind of in the jungle a little bit. And my wife goes, hey, do you have some Wi-Fi? Because my buddy owns this resort, and he goes, he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll give it to you. He's like, but I don't give it out to anybody. We're like, you don't? He's like, no. He's like, I tell everybody that the signal's not very good out here, so I have to have it just for like checking people in and doing our stuff. He's like, but honestly, I don't want people coming out here and being on their phone. And so I put my phone in my bag for a week. Didn't look at my phone. I'm out in nature for a week. It was the most relaxing, most calming vacation I've ever had. And we've been back, and we're looking at buying a house out there. Just like, this is, because I want to also create habits for my kids. Because it's one thing for us to develop these habits. And one thing we developed a habit with our kids is we'd sit around the dinner table at night and we go, okay, we do this thing called high-low. You heard of that?
Yep. Yeah.
3 highs, 1 low, But they had to have, what didn't go great today? Okay, and then what did go great? And we need 3 things that are great. But it's also trying to rewire them to think, you're always going to have there's always going to be a low of the day. But we want you to focus more on what were the wins? What were the great things that happened? Because if you can wire your brain to think that way, then you're more focused on, not everything's going to go good every day or any day, but you can always have wins. And if you're focusing on that right there is physiologically changing you and also adjusting your stress level so that you're not, because if you're always thinking about like for you, you're always like, next thing. Like you're, the modern day Job over here with
thank you
her hip, her this. You know what I mean? But like seriously, like when you're going through like this happened, and then like a week later this happens, and I fall down. I was like, oh my goodness.
And Chelsi, why are you attracting these things?
but you know what I mean? Yeah. You're always gonna have the lows. So it's like try to focus on what's good, because if you can focus on it's also if you can just kind of even at the end of the day for yourself go, okay, what didn't go good? And then it's like force yourself to whatever didn't go good, you have to do twice as many what did go good, so that you can change that focus of, okay, I failed at this today, but you know what? I still won. Yeah. Because we're always going to have those days where we feel like we lost. But if we can focus on the wins, that also changes us as well. So then we're not as stressed, or because then we're not just like, oh my gosh, today I just need to go to bed. This day just needs to be done. In that whole, think about how you feel when you're thinking that or saying that. You are in fight or flight.
Yeah.
But when you can start to think, manifestation, affirmation, all these things that I wish I knew when I was younger. And I'm like starting to teach my kids now. And my kids, they're receptive, but they're a little bit like Heidi, like, oh, here goes Dad with his woo-woo.
Yeah.
But
Can you just give me something that's actually real?
Yeah. So I'm trying to like embed it in them, because this life is not going to be not stressful for them. I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and they're going to be, my youngest is going to be 18 this year. And so we're moving to this next stage of life, which is going to be a stressful time. You get married and you're young and you have no money and, all these things. So it's like, understand that that's life. And so how can we just refocus what we're focusing on? Yeah. That's really a lot of it, what it is,
We have to lead by example. I think thinking about, like, I remember my grandma saying, I'm just going to jump in bed and cover my head and wait for God. Like when life would get hard, like that's what I remember her saying. And it's true. we're a direct reflection of, how we're raised. And so by us creating a crazy lifestyle for our kids, the go, the constant being in 3 activities and we're creating that chaos, and they're just going to continue to duplicate it. And so as parents, we do the same thing at the end of the day. We are, gathered all together, and I ask all of them, what was the highlight of your day? And we're really working with my 15-year-old right now. He's been diagnosed with ODD, oppositional defiance disorder. So he literally is like looking for the bad in all things. We ask him to do one thing, he's the opposite. And so trying to rewire his brain to focus on the good. And he's trying to, one of his things right now, he's in a teen program, he's trying to forgive my husband and I. He's been angry at us for a long time. And so one of the things that we're doing in family therapy is really trying to focus on the good. And I tell my clients this, whatever you focus on expands. That's where your focus goes, your energy flows. And that's what you're going to see. So whatever you look for, you're going to find.
That's a great term. I'm going to steal that. Where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And your energy is absorbable.
Yes.
And I think about that a lot with my kids. Because as a young parent, and they knocked the thing, a cup over. You're like, oh my gosh, and I remember having this conversation a couple weeks ago with my kids. I had like who was over there? There's some family over. We got some young nephews, and I think somebody did something. It was like, oh, it's fine. You're like, no big deal. Like nothing, no one's hurt. Like it's not a big deal. And I remember telling my kids, I'm like, the difference between parent and grandparent. Why grandparents are just so, it's okay, because parents are so in this fight or flight. Yeah. It's like But as a grandparent, you're not.
Right.
And you look at it, it's like, well, what happened? Nothing happened. No one's hurt. Okay, we cleaned it up. But then also, you're also, when your kid, like you were talking about, now your kid's not in this freak out mode, like, oh my gosh, if I do anything wrong, parents are going to freak out on me. Now it's like, oh, they realize what is important and what is. So when they do something
and
that they
really
know
is something to be upset about.
Yeah, then they understand, hey, okay, they get upset when it's important, and
and then we have to learn to be first responders when it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not freak outers.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. Every time one of my kids has gotten like hurt, like I swear 90% of the time I'm out of town with work, or I'm at work and my wife's calling me, and my daughter just got knocked out cold at home plate sliding in, and laying there, and he's, why aren't you? I'm like, well, I wasn't coming. Like, I was going to come to this game. But it's like, there's like, but it always happens. And my poor wife is the one that's there, and I'm usually not, and then she's having to deal with, Kanani ran into the tree and busted her eye open, and now they're pressuring me at the hospital to do this and this and this, and you're not here. And it just seems like every time, that happens, but that's part of life. So you can't avoid it. It's just a matter of how do we figure out how to deal with it better.
Right.
Is really, really what it is. And you're not going to be perfect. We talked about earlier, you're perfectly imperfect, but you're striving to get better, or at least striving to implement some things that can help you personally. Because if you cannot help yourself, and that's the biggest thing that moms do, is they ignore themselves. They do. I've watched it with my mom. I've watched it with pretty much every mom, my wife, everybody's like, they will put everybody else in front of themselves and let themselves or their health or their emotional needs or whatever suffer because they're putting everybody else first. And if you step back and go, man, if I actually was in a good spot emotionally, physically, mentally, how much better of a mom could I be? Or how much better of a dad could I be, if I'm in a good spot? If I'm not in this fight or flight, now when I come home from work, I'm not irritated by this or that or whatever, or less patience,
Right.
When I'm not and I come home, because there were a number of years and different jobs I was in were very high stress jobs. And when you come home, you feel, and looking back now, I was in fight or flight, and I come home and like the dumbest little thing would just kind of irritate you. And now when I come home, because I'm in a totally different space in life, and I come home from work and I'm happy to be home. Can't wait I don't care about anything else that's going on. I just have to be home. Hey, what's going on? Who's home? If the kid's home, and it really changes, and nothing really changed. Is it less stressful? I don't know. I started a business a year ago, so it doesn't make it less stressful. It's just how do you rewire yourself to be able to deal with that stress, so that not only can you feel good and be in a good space, but you can also be better for the people you love.
Yeah. Which I think is more important, to take a minute and step into your closet and breathe and calm down and go out and have cold cereal for dinner, even if it's got sugar on it, so that you have the ability to be happy and to engage in those relationships and be somebody that you want to be, show up how you want to show up, rather than not having control. And again, I think I went so many years not realizing that was on the menu to take control. And
that was a possibility even.
I want to read this quote one more time that we started out with, that says, "May you learn how to regulate your nervous system to match the life you want, instead of staying dysregulated because of the life you have." In our very first episode, we talked about envisioning what you wanted to look like 10, 20, 30 years down the road, what you wanted your activity level to be, and what you wanted your energy to look like. We have to do the same thing for tonight, for tomorrow, and do that visualization, make that decision, it's interesting the shift that happens once you realize that you have an option there. And then you visualize that as something that you want. And then the scrolling seems less interesting. Then, like, the stomping around seems less necessary. It changes because you changed what you wanted. You changed what the goal was. Because I don't even think I had a goal. I think it was like, get through the day. You know, like, I just wanted to be done or something, you know? And so I think that, and again, this is why I'm calling it the shift. Because this is a small thing that you're doing in your mind that carries a huge change in your body and in your spirit, in your relationships, in your energy. And it's real. And these are the things that are going to start to really impact your health. And I'm like backpedaling myself from the edge. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I know where I was. I'm thankful that I know why I was there. And I'm really thankful that Ryan Bean told me that I was going to die if I didn't get in the cold water. Like, if you don't make a change, then there's not anything good waiting for you, you know? And side note, if you're saying in your head or out loud, what's next? Don't say that. Yeah. Don't ask what's next.
It'll show you. Yeah, if you ask, it'll show you.
Decide that was the last thing, and now you're free and clear, and now things are going to be better. And that's what I got to do.
And you're doing it.
I am doing it.
You are.
And it's, go ahead.
I was going to say, you are a different woman today by far than 6 months ago. You were in the thick of it. So I'm proud of you.
The biggest thing when you're starting to make these changes is do not think that you have to be perfect at it.
Yeah.
Once again, find out what works for you. Maybe breath work is something that works for you. It'll work for everybody, but maybe that's something that you can implement. Maybe it's just going and walking for 30 minutes outside. There's a number of different things you can do, but figure out what it is that you can do. And we'll have a list. That's one thing about these podcasts. We'll have a list of like things here of like, here's things.
Ideally not like shopping, gambling, wine.
Yeah. All of these things are escapes. All of those things, doom scrolling, shopping, wine, like all these things are escapes from it as opposed to dealing with it.
Like taking it head on. Yeah.
Correct. And you don't have to be perfect. Okay, so you didn't walk today. Okay, but you walked yesterday, so tomorrow's a new day. And let's move on to tomorrow. And I do the same thing with like diet and stuff too. It's like, think you have to be perfect. Because if you think you have to be perfect with it, when you're not,
then there's the anxiety and the stress.
But then you'll be like, oh, forget it. I was supposed to work out 4 times this week and I only went once. And it's like, 2 weeks in a row I did that. It's like, I can't do it. Yep. And then you quit. Mm-hmm. And you just quit trying. So don't think you have to be perfect. Just set yourself a goal. You know what? I want to get out and walk 3 days a week this week. And if you get out and do it 2, guess what? That's twice more than you did it last week. So those are wins. Just because you didn't reach it. The goal is something you're trying to get to, but whatever you get is still better than what you've been doing. Yep. And so you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be trying. Find something that works for you that helps calm you down, helps bring that nervous system down, and practice that. And there are other things that you can do as well. I mean, some of these things are mineral deficiencies. They really are, that do also kind of throw you in a higher stress moment. And so there are products that you can take that make sure that you're not mineral deficient, because we know we're mineral deficient already just from our food supply. It's not in the soils anymore. So that is one thing that you can do. There's a number of different things you can do, but that's another thing. The strips, I love our strips that we have. Like you guys,
the calm strips.
The calm strips, yeah. They work. I've had so many people reach out and go, oh my gosh, those things are amazing. Those things, they like 10 minutes. And I'm just like, and it's more of a fire extinguisher.
Okay. So take a second, back up and talk about the product really quickly.
Okay. So it's Aegis Formulas, AEGIS. We talked about it before.
It means shield.
It's a shield. It's a shield in Greek, right? But so we have a strip, and the strip it's like a Listerine strip, but it's a supplement, and it has all natural ingredients. It has two patented ingredients that come from mango extract and another herb, and they have over 15 peer-reviewed studies showing that it decreases anxiety and stress like that. And so, but it's also awesome because it's not a pill or a liquid. You just throw it in and it melts right in your mouth.
Yeah,
and
you stick it to the roof of your mouth.
It sticks to the roof of your mouth. And so it's a really cool, plus there are little things you can just, I carry some in my wallet because they're thin, and then also we actually have what's called a fight or flight kit.
They come in a little tin, like a Altoid tin.
Yeah,
okay,
they do.
Cute.
Yeah, they're cool. And then we have an actual fight or flight kit, which the other one is a product. Actually, my partner is the one. So between the two of us, we formulate all of our products, but this was one she specifically formulated for this. And it has all sorts of different essential vitamins and minerals that help regulate the immune system. So that's something that's more long-term that you take that will help you in the long term, whereas the strip is an immediate, like, I need something now. But which those are awesome, but also you still need to implement some of these other lifestyle changes. Like I highly recommend everybody can walk. Most people can walk. Yep. If you can walk, go walk. If you can't, then if you can't walk or you're impaired to be able to walk like that, go sit out in the sun for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, just be outside for 30 minutes. The breath work is great. Breath work really, really, really works. I've never, because you asked me about breath work, I'm like, I've never been formally trained in breath work, but I personally have had moments where I'm just like, I can just, you can almost hear your heart beating. You're just like, oh my gosh. And I sit there and I'm just like me breathing. I'm just like, I just need to like calm down. And so not maybe doing it the way that they do it.
It's not like a 40-minute sit down and do this breathwork protocol. It's just like a couple minutes, 3 or 4 breaths.
Yep.
And it is amazing what happens.
It really does. And it seems like simple things, but that's the great thing about it. There's simple things that you can implement. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take effort, really. It just takes you
awareness.
Yeah. Of being aware that, there's a few little things I can do. It's like as a chiropractor, I didn't just do one technique. I had like 4 or 5 different things I could do, from soft tissue work to adjusting to acupuncture to all different things. Like you have all these tools in your tool belt that I can do. So these are just different tools in your tool belt, and you can pull one of those out and implement that at that moment.
Yeah, I love that. And the more that you prove to yourself that it works, then it starts to become a practice, and it's such a game changer. So thank you guys both. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your example. And I know I'm really fun. I'm really fun to coach, in case you're wondering. Next time we are going to be talking about probably the biggest motivation that I feel in making changes in my life, and that is brain health. So want to invite you to come back next time, and we would love to have you share this information, this podcast, with people that you know that may be in the same boat. It's probably everyone, share it, spread the word. Let's talk about it. Have these conversations with your kids. Have these conversations with your friends, because you never know when something that you've just learned will make a gigantic life shift in somebody that you know. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And please come back next time.
Dr. Vohn Watts, chiropractor and founder of Foundational Wellness, shares his insights on how the body functions as a whole system, along with the principles he uses to help people get on the path to better health. Please remember, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended to replace medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Every person is unique, and your health decisions should always be made in consultation with a qualified healthcare professional who knows your individual circumstances. Neither Dr. Watts nor this podcast is responsible for any actions you choose to take based on the discussions in these episodes.